Okay, Moto X. When's the next Bears game?
The Bears are playing the Vikings on November 1st at 12 p.m.
I don't even know why I asked that question. It's not like they're going to win. So I've had my 2015 Moto X Pure Edition for over 6 weeks now, about a month and a half, and I have to say that this is the best phone I've ever owned. I know that phones get better over time, that's just a given, but I feel like with the 2015 Moto X Pure Edition, it's hit almost every point spot on. But don't get me wrong, it's not without its sore spots. Not only is the Moto X the best phone I've ever owned, but it's also the best feeling phone I've ever owned. I know that sounds kind of weird, but as far as ergonomics go, I haven't had another phone that has the kind of grip and the kind of feel that I like. I know it's not an all-metal phone, but I feel like with all-metal phones, they tend to slip out of the hand. And I'm not saying that they just slip easily, but they're prone to slipping out. I've had instances where I've had phones even just slide off of a surface because of its either glass back or metal back. Motorola calls this grippy back coated silicone rubber. I'm the kind of person that never uses a case, and having this kind of back just makes it feel much more secure in hand. For those that have seen my original Moto X unboxing, I didn't actually start off with this color combination. I actually used to have a white and gold version of this, and I was actually really happy with it, but I returned it because it was having some quality issues. The one issue I was having was with the volume, the down rocker volume button thingy. It wasn't pressing all the way down properly. It didn't feel right. There was no flex, or like it wasn't tacky or tactile, whatever word you want to use. You know, what's nice about Motorola is they give you a 2-week grace period to take a look at your phone, see if you like the colors, and if you don't, you can swap it out with whatever color combination you want. No questions asked. But it also gives you the opportunity to make sure that everything is working as it should. Just make sure that when your Moto X arrives, you take the time to go over it with a fine-tooth comb. Check the speakers, the display, make sure everything's running the way it should, the camera works properly, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, this phone that I got about 3 weeks ago seems to be working 100%. No complaints, for the most part. What I like about the build quality of this phone too is the way that the phone curves on the back, so it kind of fits in the palm of your hand. For other phones that just have a traditional flat back, holding the Moto X with this ergonomic design just feels so much better in hand. For a phone that's not all metal, all aluminum, it does have an aluminum frame, and that just gives it a more premium feel. And the phone is heavy. It's not too heavy. Heavy might be a weird word to use for it. It just feels solid. It feels like you have a phone in your hand. It doesn't feel like it's gonna fly away with other lightweight phones. And lastly, for people that might not know Motorola's style, they give you an all customizable phone, which means you can change the color of your front, you can change the color of your speaker grills, the back, and even the trim here. That also means you can pick from different options like wood and leather. So it's a very personalized phone for you without any additional cost. I love the display on this phone. It's probably not the best display that's out there, but if you haven't seen an S6 or a Note 5, you probably wouldn't even notice. It's still a very clear, bright display. The colors aren't too oversaturated, and if you want a version where it has a little more saturation, you can pick that in the settings. And I'm grateful that Motorola gives you that option for color mode, is what they call it. And then there's the normal mode and a vibrant mode. Normal mode is a more true realistic display, and a vibrant mode is where the colors are brighter and they kind of pop out more. The display is great for looking at pictures or watching movies or just everyday phone use. Performance-wise, my phone gets the job done. That's the easiest way to put it. I can have 20 to 30 sessions of Chrome open, Facebook, Instagram, Yelp, YouTube, Netflix, you name it, I have all of them open and everything runs smoothly. I've seen a lot of other reviews where people say that it will occasionally lag, but I haven't noticed that. And then it really makes me wonder what they're doing on their phones to get that lag going. Like, do they have Chrome open and are they just continuously scrolling up and down until they see lag? So if I did that, I'm sure I could get lag to happen, but I'm not I'm not continuously scrolling through Chrome to see if it'll lag. I use Chrome to read my news and check pictures out, and I haven't noticed any kind of noticeable lag, if you want to call it that. But for everyday use, if you're not doing crazy things on your phone, surfing the web is fine, going through Facebook is fine, Google Plus, Instagram, I haven't had any hiccups, any kind of like stuttering going through any of those apps. For everyday use, trust me, I've had it for 6 weeks and I haven't had any issues. In an earlier review, I did have an issue with Hangouts and the lag that was associated with it, but that was a software thing. Eventually, Hangouts got updated to 5.0 and I haven't had any issues since. I'm okay with the battery. Okay with the battery. That's probably my biggest gripe about this phone. On heavy days when I'm mostly in a cell network, I can usually get 3 hours and 45 minutes of on-screen time. So that's about 12 hours during the day, 3 hours and 45 minutes of on-screen time, and mostly on a cell network. And that's for very heavy usage. On lighter days, I could probably get around 16 hours and maybe 3 hours and 15 minutes of on-screen time. And then on days that I'm mostly on Wi-Fi, let's say 90% on Wi-Fi, I can get about 4 hours of screen time and maybe 16 hours for the day before I have to charge up. A lot of that might actually be dependent on your cell carrier. So if you have limited coverage, it might be eating up your battery a lot more than just being at home with Wi-Fi. What I do love about this phone though is how quick the battery can charge. I've done multiple tests, I've had videos before about the battery, and I can get, in 30 minutes, I can charge this phone up to 60% in 30 minutes. That's a ton of battery in such a short amount of time. And it's only going to get better with Quick Charge 3.0 next year. And again, I can get 100% in under an hour and 20 minutes. So even when my battery is fully depleted, I know that I can at least charge it up really quick and get the battery going again. But really what I would like is just a better battery overall. It would have been nice if they maybe included a 3200 or 3400 milliamp hour battery. I know that Motorola has a contract with Verizon and they typically put a bigger battery in those and leave it out for the Moto X Pure Edition, and I just feel that if you want to please your consumer, you're going to put a bigger battery in there. Like, give us the option. Give us a bigger battery. A lot of us want that. For heavy users, we want to go 2 days. We want 48-hour battery life. That's important to us. One of the things that I love about the Moto X Pure Edition too is that it has expandable storage. And on my phone, I put a 128 gigabyte micro SD card in here, and it works great. I haven't had any issues. I store all my pictures, all my videos on it, and I can confirm. So for people who are wondering, 128 gigs works on the phone. So anything smaller should work as well. As far as the camera goes, I feel like the camera's pretty good. I haven't had a ton of issues with it. I take good pictures, or at least I feel like the pictures turn out really well. In daylight especially, I get some great shots. I guess the complaint here is during dimmer lighting where it can become an issue, and I've taken shots indoors and I've had pretty good pictures, and even in dim lighting I feel like my pictures still come out decent. Now in very dim lighting, like in a darker environment, then the pictures come out grainy, but that's to be expected, and I know that there are other phones that do better at that, but it's still decent. It's not like you can't take a picture at night. I have a video of me recording in really, really dim instances, and I feel like it turned out pretty well. So if camera is a concern, I wouldn't worry too much about it unless you were looking to do a lot of professional stuff with your phone. Now I'm not saying that I wouldn't want a better camera, because who wouldn't want a better anything on a phone? But for everyday use, for taking pictures, for shooting video, I'm pretty happy with my camera. I love that I can take HD video with my phone in 1080p or 4K. I haven't noticed any kind of stuttering or lag when using it. The only gripe that I really have with video recording is the fact that I can't set 4K to default. So if I turn on 4K to record, it'll shoot in 4K, but as soon as I lock the phone and unlock it and try to take another 4K video, I have to go right back into the settings and switch it to 4K again. Now I wish Motorola would send maybe an update to keep it at a default so you can pick 1080p or 4K, and I understand about the size issue. I understand that recording in 4K is going to take a lot of data, and maybe users who don't know the difference would end up keeping it at 4K and then eating up all their data. But I feel like what Motorola could do instead is when you record in 4K, maybe have a pop-up that says, hey, you're recording in 4K and you're going to eat up 8 billion gigabytes of data. Do you want to continue? And then, you know, it has that check mark at the bottom where it says, don't show this again. I do love the slow motion feature on the camera. I use it a lot. I wish that the slow motion actually was slower, if that makes sense. Sometimes when I take video in slow motion, it still feels like it's normal. How can I say it? It looks as if it's at a normal pace, but just a little slower. It would be nice if they could even slow it down more, but I know there are probably limitations for all of that. And my biggest gripe though with the camera is in slow motion. For some reason, I can't get the phone to focus properly in slow motion. Now, I remember someone commenting on one of my earlier videos saying that the camera might be defective, but it's really weird how everything else works perfectly, but when I use slow motion, I can't get things to focus, or it takes forever to focus. And I've done it in outdoor light, and I still cannot get the phone to focus. I don't know how many times I said focus, but that's my biggest gripe about the camera. And if that's the only gripe I have, I am okay with that, because I don't take slow motion video for everything, but it would be nice to have that feature fixed. I don't know, maybe I'll contact Motorola and see if they can do anything about that. So the speakers are a big deal to me. For someone that enjoys not putting headphones or earphones on and actually enjoys listening to music and watching video on a phone, the Moto X is a great experience. The fact that it has dual front-facing stereo speakers is a huge plus for me. The sound quality is great. Even on regular telephone calls, on the speaker, it comes out loud and clear. Music, movies. I use this for Spotify, for Netflix, for YouTube, and everything sounds great. My issue though is with notifications. For some reason, when volume is put all the way up, when notifications come in, sometimes there's crackling, sometimes there's hissing, and I'm not sure if that is a hardware issue or a software issue. But I wish I would get that fixed, because it makes the phone sound cheap when that sound goes off and you can hear that it's not clear or that it's crackling. It's one of those cringy feelings, you know what I mean? But otherwise, I love the fact that they're front-facing speakers, that they're not at the bottom, so I don't have to cup my hand on one side. I don't know if the camera shows that. I don't have to cup my hand here or cup it from the back, because I know there's some phones that have speakers like in the back here and people have to cup it that way. It's nice to have two speakers right up front, so when you're watching, the sound's coming right at you. Now, speakers might not be a big deal to some people, but for me, it's on the top of my list. And then there are the gestures, the ones that I've done so many times, but I'm so thankful that I have them. The double twist to open the camera is such a great feature. I use it all the time. You know, in my job, I have to take serial numbers for parts and everything, and sometimes when I'm on the go, and I don't want to write it down or I don't have a pen, I just like to open my camera. And just being able to twist my hand and get that camera going is such a great feature for me. It's very handy. I don't have to touch anything except twist my hand and get it going. And then there are the instances with the flashlight. 2 chops to turn it on, 2 chops to turn it off. And being able to turn your flashlight on without unlocking your phone or pressing anything is such a great time saver. I don't know why any other phone manufacturers haven't found a way to get the flashlight open as quickly as the Moto X can do it. So good job, Motorola, one of my favorite features. And then there's the hands-free feature where you can just speak to your phone even if you're away from it and you're not holding it, and you can get it to read your text back or open an app or send a text or make a call. Now, honestly, I don't use it as much, but for people that might want it, it's there for you. And it's good and it's handy and it works. It might not work perfectly, but it works. And then my favorite feature of the Moto X out of everything else are the IR sensors. I can't tell you how many times I just wave my hand over the phone to check notifications or to check the time. And it's great, especially if I'm in front of the TV and I'm like playing a video game and I just want to check to see if anyone texted me. I can just wave my hand over it and see if I have a new notification. Or if I'm just on my laptop or watching TV and I have it sitting on a side table, I can just wave my hand over it. But I'll tell you, the number one thing I use it for, probably more than anything else, is when I get out of the shower. So, you know, you get out of the shower, you're wet, and my phone is usually sitting on the sink countertop or whatever, and my hand is wet, and I don't want to like grab the phone because I'm drying off. And yeah, I know that your phone can wait, but what's so cool about it is when I step out of the shower, I just wave my hand over the phone and see if I got any new text or check the time. It's a handy feature, and I'm gonna miss it if I end up using the 6P as my daily driver. You can get the Moto X for $399.99 with 16 gigs of internal storage. Now, 16 gigs might not be a lot. I feel like it's not a lot, but it has expandable storage, and you can put up to 128 gigs of expandable storage on your phone, which will probably free up all of your pictures, all of your movies, all of your other media. So for $399.99 and 16 gigs, you can probably add another 20 bucks and put another 32 gig card in there, and you effectively have 48 gigs of space. I feel like for the price, for its expandable storage, and for its features, the Moto X Pure Edition is probably the best phone you can get for under $400. I know the Nexus 5X is out, and that has a fingerprint sensor, and it probably has a better camera, and that starts at $380. So those two are probably head-to-head with each other. If a fingerprint is important to you, then you might really want to consider a 5X. But owning the Moto X for over 6 weeks, I haven't had any big issues with the phone. I've been very happy with it. I have been recommending it to a lot of other people, and when I recommend it to people, I'll also gauge the person on how much storage size they're looking for and how much they're willing to spend. Because when the 6P arrives, that's going to be a real competitor to the Moto X Pure Edition, and I guess at that point it's whether or not you want to shell out the extra 50 bucks, 100 bucks, depending on storage. But for now, to date, the Moto X Pure Edition is my favorite phone. I would recommend it 9 times out of 10. If people are looking for a fingerprint sensor, then I might have them hold off and look into the 6P, but I don't think you can go wrong with this phone.